Welcome to the Outer Realm with Michelle DeRoche and Amelia Pisano. Airing live on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM in New Orleans.
Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome to the Wednesday night segment of the Outer Realm, first segment of 2024. We're broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network, UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 FM from the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM from New Orleans. We are fully sponsored by the amazing people over at Folgers Coffee who are continuing their journey with us here into 2024. So thank you, Folgers. We appreciate you so much. You have no idea. We couldn't or wouldn't do it without you. Also, big thank you to Dr. Snick, Justin Snicker, aka the Sonic Surgeon, for his contribution of his time, his music, and the voice that you heard on their intro. And happy that he's on board for 2024. He's an award-winning composer of Halloween, horror, sci-fi, and dark wave electronic music, which can be found on all of your favorite streaming platforms. Also, Steve McGinnis, another sponsor of 2024, the artist behind our banners and logos here at the show. Check him out on Facebook and Instagram. Also specializes in the Halloween genre and does all sorts of fantastic commission pieces of any type. So tonight, of course, starting off 2024 right, we are welcoming for the very first time Jeanne Bassett, an animal communicator, pet medium, energy healing practitioner. She's also a shamanic practitioner. Her passion and her service to humanity is to help resolve physical, emotional, and behavioral issues for their companion animals. Say, I love that. And I know Bubbles wishes she could be here as well, but she's under the weather and, 'tis the season. And if you do suffer from migraines and such, it's never fun. So we're going to wait for our guest to come in. So I hope everybody had a really good New Year's. Nice to see you guys back here. Hey, Z-Sun. Hello, Janie. Wayne, where are you? There you are. Down for the count, but here you are. Yes, animal communication has always fascinated me as well, big time. There's just so much stuff that we like to know about our own pets. Because see, we do a lot of pet rescues, and we don't often know anything about their past. We don't know always where they come from. Sometimes the organizations have an idea. Sometimes people, they just don't. They don't tell you anything. They don't know anything. So you're left playing, guessing games and trying to figure it out. And it's really sad, especially if there's health issues or behavioral issues or things that make them nervous. So, we're really, really blessed to be able to have rescues. They're just such joys to have. They're just so sweet, and they're so often so grateful, and it takes a long time to socialize them at time. I had a dog. It took almost 10 months, and you couldn't even touch her. This chihuahua just not happy about being touched for 10 months. So it took us a bit of time to get used to that. So it would have been good to have somebody like Julie say, oh no, she doesn't like to be touched because, or, maybe she was manhandled, maybe she was dropped. Like you don't know. But yeah, we nicknamed her Cujo for a long time. That's true. I know. Hey, Ron, all the way from Scotland. How are you? Hey, Tamara. Janie. I know Amelia would love to be here. I know she would. Steve's working on pet portraits right now. Wow, funny that. Steve is working on pet portraits. So maybe you guys might want to check him out and get one of your favorite pet portraits done. That would be nice. We've lost Julie. She's here. No camera. Let's just bring her on board. Julie, you with us? Not yet? Okay. Bring her back. I'm sure she'll be back. Um, so anyway, yeah, pet portraits. But our little rescues are definitely the joy, of our lives. And I mean, I've been doing pet rescue personally for many, many years. I think I only actually got two dogs my entire life, from breeders, and they had their own share of issues, but they, you know, always a joy, and stayed with us until, literally they became very aged and pass away. And like people, they tend to get a lot of, illnesses. Like it's hard to see you have an animal with kidney failure or you have an animal with cancer, and because they can't talk to you and you just don't know what's going on with them, and just takes so much, just so much to try to sort it all out. So they're just like little people. And our guest is back. Hi. How are
About
you?
that. I was trying to stream to my Facebook business page, but
Uh-oh.
I can't figure it out. So,
Oh, yeah, you should be able to just add it as you come in. It should give you the option up at the top right near where it says the live, I think, over to the very right hand side.
uh,
Yeah, give it a whirl.
yeah, I don't think I can do it. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, no, not good. Well, you feel free to tinker. That's okay.
Well, I'm afraid I'm going to kick myself out again. So,
Oh,
I'm sure you'll send me a link so that I can just post it in my business page.
absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, what I can do for you right now is I will email you the live link, and you can post it to I did do that, but I will do this again. So share, and this way people can get in chat right away if they want, and listen to you. So give me 1 second. People be patient with me. Okay, because I am here. Oh, there's Joe. Okay, so here it is, Julie. This is the live link right now, so you can.
Awesome.
Should be
Thank
okay.
you so much.
All right, hopefully all will go well. so, so Ron says he prefers the company of animals to people. They're more trustworthy. Probably not wrong on a whole lot of levels with that. Um, so people, feel free to chime in. Remember, we have 7 different chat rooms right now, and we can only go at a certain pace, and our guests can see your comments, so we will do our very best to um to get to people as it comes up. So Laurie, here you are. Hello. Familiar face, always nice. So I hope everyone had a great new year, and I know we've been looking for this. I have been sitting here trying to hook up with Julie to figure out what's going on with our own pets for a while, and everybody knows you always hear me be a harpy about my schedule, and it hadn't changed over Christmas where you thought it was going to get nice and quiet. That does not happen very often for me, but I'm still working on questions. But I got the pictures and some questions, so we're partway there.
And the
Hello,
thing
Lynn.
is, you can ask more questions as we go along. So
Oh,
there's plenty of time.
that's good. The questions will be pretty generic, I think, for the 3 girls because they're all rescues. They just have different situations, and then we have, one who's passed on, and so, it's always really hard. I was explaining to people earlier how it's very difficult when you're dealing with rescues because you just do not know their history. You don't know, where they come from, if they how much damage they've had, or maybe they just, maybe they were lost from their families, maybe they were given up. There's just so many different things. So sadly, happy new Year to all your viewers. Thank you very much, Ron. So let me know when you're ready to go. Julie.
I'm ready.
All right. So let's talk about humble beginnings, is where I usually like to start. And when did you realize you could communicate with animals?
Probably when I was little, I had a dog that I considered my sister because we kind of grew up together. and I was an only child, and I could always sense the way she was feeling. And um, so I think I kind of knew then, but because, oh, it's just your imagination, or, that just, that's not real. So, like most people, I shut it off.
Oh,
And then in 2017, I had back surgery, and 2 weeks after that, I had a pulmonary embolism where I nearly died.
oh my
I
goodness.
decided I didn't want to go back to my stressful corporate job, although I did, because financial security.
Of course.
But while I was on my short-term disability, I ended up taking a course in a health coach course,
Hmm.
one in to be a transitional coach, and one in animal communication. And the animal communication one had also energy healing, so I could also heal the animals. And that just really lit me up. And I felt very passionate about that. Um,
Yeah. It's so rewarding because they're just so innocent, They can't speak for themselves. They need someone like you to do it.
and I enjoy being their voice.
Oh, goodness. Do you have pets of your own?
Yes, I have, well, one cat right now. I did have two, but they've both passed,
Oh,
and
sorry.
are now my guides, or some
Right.
of my guides.
Interesting. So, how is it like living with your pet, knowing exactly what your pet is thinking, or pretty much how your pet is feeling, being able to communicate?
Um,
How does a pet feel about it? Cats are crafty. They're like ninjas. They don't like to know, or they don't like you to know.
well, Rosie was very much um, like my soul cat.
Oh,
And so I was able to communicate with her very well. And, um, you know, she was like a 20-pound cat. I kept telling her we need to put her on a diet so that it would be better for her bones and her health. And she's saying, no, I'm pleasantly plump. I like my food. I will not go on a diet. Okay.
well then.
They have free will too, and she was perfectly happy. Um,
Right,
and
right.
then I had her son too, and he was a little monster, but you know,
Aren't they all? Cats think they're royalty. And
well,
that,
they
mind you, so
are.
do chihuahuas.
They are.
Yeah, they've got quite a rich history,
Yes.
without a doubt. So you decided that you've gotten this training, you had this natural ability, and you decided to reach out. I mean, you've got a really great resume. I just went through the first portion of it, helping to resolve physical, emotional, behavioral issues in companion pets. Um, I could have used somebody. I mean, obviously I am because we're in communication about doing it. But I could have used someone like you, like, many years ago. You don't encounter many people who do this. I think I've encountered one person um, who I ended up using. We're talking probably about 15 years ago. And then she just dropped off.
Because a lot of people think it's too woo-woo, and now it's becoming more accepted, I guess.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but yeah, for a long time, and I was like in the Bible Belt, and it's like, oh, no, no, no.
Right.
But even in the Bible, it says that we communicate with animals. I can't quote the right passage right now, but
No, of
it is
course.
stated in the Bible.
Right. And do you think this is just a natural ability that people should be able to have?
We all have this ability.
Right.
We were
Right.
all born with this ability to be able to communicate with animals, and most of us have shut it off, um, because, you know, people think they have imaginary friends. Oh, that's not real. And so we shut it off, or we're criticized for it, or made fun of about it. And
Right.
so people shut it off, but everyone has this ability.
Well, Laura Lee says Julie's an incredible animal communicator as well as a teacher and phenomenal shamanic practitioner. Of course, Laura Lee is not biased. That's why we love her.
Of course not.
um, I know for myself, there have been times where I feel like I could pick up on what my pets are saying. And it's only been recently where I heard her actual voice. And I'm like, what was that? And I realized that it was Pixie. So I have to wonder, do you think maybe people are hearing them and are not really acknowledging it? Or is this just not tuning in because they don't think animals can actually communicate?
A little of both. A lot of it is because we share so much energy with our pets
Right.
that it's hard to tell what's yours and what's theirs.
Right.
And a lot of it is to go in with an open mind and trust what you're getting. Just set your ego aside and just trust what you're getting.
Right. Right. So that's a tough one because people don't even trust in their own abilities of fight or flight,
Absolutely.
let alone trying to communicate, with their pets. So, what is it like communicating with pets compared to, let's say, an adult? We have a lot of blockage as adults, like
Right.
that has a way of doing that to you.
To me, they're more like kids. They all
Right.
have their unique personalities. I've had them come and sing songs to me.
Haha.
And I mean, it's just phenomenal. And some of the stories they tell me, and it's just incredible.
Right. Right. So they know obviously that you have this light about you and that you're one of those people that they can reach out to.
Hmm.
Fascinating. So what's been some of the more interesting animals that you've had communication with? Like something like obscure or sassy. Any story you want to tell?
Well, I had a horse one time that started singing the theme song to Mr. Ed. And what he was telling me is he used to be a dog. He had just lost a dog friend, and they used to be buddies in a previous life. But he saw this show, Mr. Ed. I don't know if you remember that show or
Oh,
not,
sadly I do. I'm
about the
aging
talking
myself, but
horse.
yes.
So he
Yes.
was singing the theme to it and says, I saw that and I wanted to come back as a horse. And so he did. And his friend decided, no, that's too much for me, and came back as a dog.
Right.
And, but yeah, someone had me help try and track a bearded dragon that had gotten lost.
Right.
Uh,
Oh, interesting.
which that was kind of bizarre. I've never talked to a bearded dragon before.
Wow.
Um,
I like it. That's obscure. That's
um,
obscure.
I had a cockroach in my house one time, and it taught me about survival. So,
Huh. Wow. Who knew? But you don't think of it. Now we're getting onto like a different level with insects, So that's actually really interesting to me. So what did that feel like? Did it feel was this like a tiny little voice or did you actually hear this little guy loud and clear?
well, my gifts are a little bit different than yours.
Okay.
I don't necessarily always hear them,
Okay.
but sometimes they'll download information into me,
I
or
understand
they'll
that.
send me pictures,
Yep, I understand that.
or yeah. So those are my main gifts as far as being able to communicate.
Mhm.
Most of the time we're sending pictures, or they're just downloading information to me.
It sounds almost like an extraterrestrial. It's like seriously. you know, they do. They tend to give you downloads and images and
And who knows, a cockroach might be an extraterrestrial. Who
I've seen
knows?
Men in Black.
Exactly.
I know. um, Faye says, I think my cat understands what I'm saying better than I understand what she is meowing. Yeah, maybe. But hey, you need to get Roger on this. Faye is from Faye is and Roger are from Latino Psychic Visions, and Roger is um, very, very gifted individual as well. And if anybody didn't catch their show on Wednesdays, I believe it's 4 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Eastern. Did I get that right, Faye? Pretty sure. Um, Ron says very often cats or dogs indoors would just stare at the wall, and it said that they can see spirits and probably of humans or animals themselves.
Yes.
Animals are very gifted.
Yes, they are. And
So,
they understand a lot more of what you say than you think they do. Sometimes they're just kind of tuning it out because they don't like small talks as much. You know, when you go into, oh, what color's your bowl? Where do you like to sleep? It's like,
right.
they want to talk about stuff that's more meaningful to them.
I think animals tend to be really deep on so many levels. I mean, if you follow the Buddhist way of life, they believe that animals can come back. I mean, we can all come back as animals, or we can come back as humans. We can incarnate on different planets. Have you ever had any animals communicate with you and say, "Hey, yeah, my name is Joe, and I used to live down the street as an adult, as a male man or
I have
whatever."
had that, but one of the most profound things that I've gotten from a cat, it was a cat that had been feral in a previous life, and he goes, "Yeah, we all start off as feral. They all start off as wild cats, and then they slowly, with each life, become more and more domesticated, and until they're a pampered lap cat or house cat."
Right. Right. So we ruin them by just letting them be free, and we coddle them and turn them into big babies, and
And they
that's
love
interesting.
it.
Well, yeah, I know one every morning that, my daughter's cats are staying with us, and every morning like clockwork, bam, 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 let me in, meow, 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 feed me. It then goes and chirps at the squirrels, and just, it's a cat's life. I think I want to come back as a darn
Yeah,
cat.
it's like, it's 6:05. I'm supposed to be fed at 6.
The what? Sorry?
The cat that's you know shredded the toilet paper says, I'm supposed to be fed at 6. It is 6:05. It's not 6:10. It's not 6:05. It's 6 a.m.
Right. It's like somebody's forgotten the schedule and attempted to
Yep.
sleep in, and we can't have that. So, Laura Lee says, "I hear the animals, and I even had in Julie's class, her stepmom's service dog even sent me the rest of the medication he's on." Oh, that's interesting. I love that though. In Egypt, cats are considered sacred, and so is cattle sacred in India. Yeah, agreed.
Yes. Yes.
Agreed. You know, so basically, people like myself come to you and try to work out problems with our animals. What's the most common thing about that people reach out to you for?
Um, in cats, it's peeing outside the litter box,
Really?
and in dogs, it's um, probably aggressive behavior, or you know. Being too protective of their owners or their guardians.
Right.
I hate using the word owners, but their guardians.
Right. Hmm. That's funny. With the cats, you
For
know.
barking.
Yeah, barking. Yeah. See, for me, it would be again with rescues. I guess because I'm affiliated with so many rescues as well, and individuals who own them or run them, and um, dealing with pets that have maybe come from. I know I had one that came from a puppy mill,
Yeah.
And it's really difficult to try to get their history. You don't always have it.
And that's where a lot of times I can get their history,
Right.
and it's very enlightening for the owners or the guardians.
Hmm.
Um, I can cut the cords to those past lives, because a lot of them have PTSD.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And so that is one of the ways I help traumatized animals heal their PTSD.
Wow. Yeah, I don't think people think of animals being traumatized in that way. I mean, where it's ongoing. There's such a strong belief system. Even vets have made comments just to a couple of people I know that, oh no, this animal's not going to remember their life in 6 weeks. They're just going to focus on the now. And I'm like, no, I don't think that's the case because I've had dogs. Like I said, I had a dog for 10 months. I couldn't touch her. She was terrified. And it took 10 months to win her over.
Well, with rescue dogs, it takes at least 3 months for them to settle in and figure out, oh, this is home. I'm not going anywhere. This is home.
Right.
So at least 3 months. Um, and sometimes with like loud noises, a lot of that's tied to a past life. I had this one German Shepherd that was a war dog and
Really?
had bombs going off. And so, of course, he was scared of all the noises, the
Right.
fireworks, the thunder. It just traumatized him each time.
Right.
He even got some like shrapnel or something in his ear. And so it was hard for him to hear.
Oh my goodness. See, you don't think beyond like the past life. And because, I mean, some people don't believe it in their own past lives. So it's really hard to think outside the box that way. Here's a question for you, Faye. My sister's Norwegian forest cat will at random attack my leg when I visit my sister. I find it surprising and annoying at the same time because it hurts. Do you think the cat feels the need to protect my sister? Even though he would know, the cat would know Faye.
What's the cat's name?
Faye, chime in. What's the cat's name? We'll wait for that to come up. You need the cat's name, Faye.
Because it could be several reasons.
Hildy.
Either they're, I'm sorry,
Hildy.
Hildy. What I was saying is it could be several reasons. Either they're trying to protect their owner, either they think it's fun and it's playtime. I'm just trying to tap into Hildy right now. She thinks of you as a toy. She
Figures.
wants to play.
Crazy cat. Hmm. It comes out of the blue, the attack. Yeah. Cats go to the beat of their own drum to start with, and I have actually known a couple of cats just like that. And I would think to myself, like, it's kind of like got a loose wire in there or something. It's like a short circuit. They are big cats. Yes, they are.
Yeah, I had this one client one time that every time she sang, the cat would attack her. And it's like, she doesn't like your singing.
All
Of
right.
course, I didn't tell her that, but
Right.
the
Right.
cat said, no, she has a horrible voice. I don't want her to sing. Because, I mean, their hearing is so much better than ours that a loud noise reverberates in their ears, and it's painful for them sometimes.
Right. Right. I can understand that. I can understand that. I think it comes down to, even small animals, I've got chihuahuas. I've had Dobermans, I've had huskies, I've had German shepherds. For the last few years, it's been chihuahuas, and they're 3 pounds. And you see a tall person coming in and trying to, you know, reprimand you, and all they see is this over top
Yeah.
of them, right? And then people wonder, well, why are they so aggressive? Well, if they're trying to protect their owner, or if they're trying to, maybe they're just frightened in general, so they're going to react that way. And I think we don't think of things like that. Try just being on the floor with them and seeing the world from how they see it,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah. And a lot of times, you know, the smaller animals don't like to be picked up. No, sweetie. Mama's trying to work.
Oh, that's okay. We don't mind animals on the show.
Well, she's knocking over my camera.
Oh, that makes it a bit harder. It's because she wants her little claim to fame.
Absolutely. But where was I going with this?
They don't like to be picked up, small animals.
Oh, yeah, because, they've got free will just like we do. And here
Right.
we're picking them up, and they're saying, no, I don't want to be picked up.
Right.
And
Right.
so sometimes it's very frustrating for them when they're being picked up all the time.
Right. Yeah. Well, chihuahuas in this house are SOL then because they get picked up. But they seem to like it. They look
Yeah, some
forward to
like
this.
it, some
They have
like it.
rituals.
Sometimes it's just at certain times when, you know, they're doing something else and, said, oh, no, I don't want to be picked up right now. But some are spoiled and they love being picked up. It just depends on the animal.
Right.
They all have
Right.
free will.
Right. And now you find, like, when you're dealing with new pet parents, have you ever had new pet parents come to you and say, okay, I want to know right off the bat what my pet wants from me and how I can be the best pet parent to my pet?
I think most of my clients are ones that have issues
Oh,
that they've been going on for a while or something, and it's like, we've been to the trainer, we've done all we can do. We're kind of at a loss.
right.
I've done a lot of pet mediumship when people have lost a pet,
Right.
and seeing if they're going to reincarnate and come back to them, and what's that going to look like. I've done a lot of that too. But
That
as
would
far
be,
as new pet parents,
yeah,
not so much.
yes. Because that's like some of like the questions that I have already, like waiting is just like, what can we do to make your life better? Are we doing it right? Do you need something else from us? It's not just so much where they come from and what's going on with them. It's what can we do to enrich their lives?
Yeah, and I have had a few like that. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, that's just us. I don't think people always think about stuff like that because I think if there's something about our energy or something about us that our pets are just, I mean, come on, you can't there are people out there that you wouldn't be able to live with. You,
that's
you
true.
know, and the pets just have no darn choice. It's like, well, I've adopted you, I've paid for you, I've taken you in, you're mine. Love me, darn it, because I love you. And that doesn't even count like pets who are being abused. But I think people who love their pet, people come to you, love their pets, obviously, and
Right.
want to make it work. But sometimes you can't even live with another individual. And then here you have this pet who's thinking, I can't stand you.
Yeah, I've had a situation where I had to tell the guardian that their pet wanted to be rehomed because of conflict
See,
with another animal.
oh, see how that would now. How did that go? How did that pet parent take it? You
Um,
ungrateful little. How did that go?
they kind of knew it. They,
Oh, okay.
they because they could kind of sense that the animals were getting along. They were trying to think of what else can we do. Uh,
Right.
and I said, I'm sorry, but he his purpose was elsewhere, essentially.
Wow.
And
Wow.
so he wanted to be rehomed, and they found him a great home, and he was happy. And because ultimately, that's what we want for our animal companions. We want them to be happy. We
Yes.
prefer them to be happy with us, but if
Right.
not, we want them to be happy.
Yeah, see that is so sad when you think about it. But it brings I'm just gonna give Laura Lee's comment because it's hilarious. My German Shepherd Emmy thinks she's a lap dog and would be thrilled if there were a way for me to carry her around. Not going to happen in this lifetime. so um so let's get a bit deeper. Have you had animals communicate to you, any animal, and tell you that they're on a really deep spiritual path and how, talk to my owner, I need to do this, or just, I'm here because this is what I have to do.
um, yes, I have. In fact, the cat that I have right now is a tripod. Um, she's one of the stray cats I had been feeding for quite some time since she was a little kitten. And she came up to me one day and um, had hurt her leg. And so I took her and she was asking me for help. So I took her to the vet. It was broken below the growth plate. And so they said, we can't save it. And
Oh,
so they amputated the leg. And so, of course, I couldn't let her go outside after that. So I still had Rosie at that time. And Rosie had passed about a month after that. Rosie had passed. And so Xena escaped. And so it's like, why? Um,
mm,
and what she told me is she was just here temporarily. She was just here to help me with Rosie's passing.
mhm,
And then she was supposed to be off on her own journey. And she showed me a picture of an autistic girl that apparently lives somewhere in this complex.
mhm.
And she went to go visit that girl. And the girl wanted Xena, her name is Xena, wanted to keep her, but the mom didn't. And so Xena ended up coming back here. But she escapes every once in a while, trying to win them over and trying to get to where she can be of service.
Oh my goodness. That's such a lovely story, but sad at the same time. Um,
Yeah,
Dolly, oh, sorry, go ahead.
but she knows she always has a place here if she wants. But, you know,
Right.
she's got free will. If she doesn't want to be here,
That's a tough pill to swallow, isn't
yes,
it?
it is.
Especially when you care for them so much. Dolly says, as a zookeeper, I would fall in love with my animals, enriching them with types of playful exercise, of food hunting to keep them searching and interested. Home pets are the same thing. Engagement, support, lively play, observation with intent to communicate their emotions. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And Sherry, have you ever heard of a group called Heal Equine Assisted Healing? That's
No, I haven't. But is that like horse therapy
that's
where they
exactly what it is. Yes.
help kids or whoever with PTSD type issues or autism or something like that?
Yes. Yeah. Sherry's associated with them. They're a wonderful organization in Canada. So anybody needs this sort of assistance, please feel free to reach out. to us at the show, and we'll put you in contact with Sherry, who could put you in contact with them. Well, see, again, and I think that's fantastic to be able to work with animals, to be able to heal ourselves, because you see it happening. You go into home like assisted living homes or a home for the aged, long-term care, and they bring in animals who, like, they almost like the animals know these are vulnerable people, and
Right.
and the elderly they just seem to know. Like, my father has Alzheimer's, but when they bring in an animal, he knows they'll have to be gentle,
Mhm.
right? I think it's just beautiful. So, hello,
Yeah.
Mark.
I also work with a um, charity here, Service Dogs for Vets, where
Right.
we help train the warrior and the dog to be a warrior pair.
Oh,
And
wow.
it just helps them so much. It's so rewarding.
Right. Oh, for
These
sure.
veterans.
For sure. I remember there was a program on television a few years ago. I don't know if it's still running, where inmates would take care of rescue animals that were brought in, and they would care for them or rehabilitate them, and
Yeah,
and it took animals out of away from kill shelters, and they were able to be cared for and then adopted out, which I thought, what a wonderful thing
I
for
think they're
both.
still doing that, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, see, there we go.
I haven't heard about them in a while, but I haven't heard it being closed down either.
Wow.
Because I
I
think it
love
was a very beneficial program for the inmates and the dogs.
I agree with you. I think it's wonderful, and I'd love to see more of it, frankly, but who am I? Laura Lee, my autistic son's cat is so bonded with him and he with her, and she does healing work on him at night. My son was worried she would choose video game cords at night, but Julie helped communicate his cat's needs to sleep in his room, and she stopped peeing on his bed ever since then. Wow, that's fun. Cat ruling the roost. Not like my house. Ruling the roost.
Yep.
Um, so, do you often have to, after communicating with animals, you find yourself having to work with the pet owners to just sort of accommodate the needs of the animals? Because it can't always be the animals. A lot of times it's got to be the owners.
Sometimes, but most of the time I can do some energy healing on the animal,
Mm-hmm.
and that helps fix a lot of the behavioral issues.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Besides, talking to them and um, because like I said, they've got free will too. And I had this one where the dog was chasing the car.
Oof.
And it's like, ooh. And, I showed him pictures of what could happen and says, that car's not going to stop. It's not like another animal, because they thought, oh, this is fun. We're going to play.
Right.
We're going to chase this. We're going to get it.
Right.
And it doesn't work that way. Um, there was another time where this dog was running through an electric fence, and we get down to the road, and this was a busy highway, and it almost caused an accident. And it's like, your mama would be very upset if you got hurt. Um, and I showed him a picture of what could happen, the car's crushing his bones and stuff like that. Sent him a picture of his mama, crying as he was being taken away in a car. And I said, you don't want to leave your mama, do you? He goes, no. And says, I didn't understand. And it's like,
Oh,
she wants to keep you safe. And if you keep going through that fence, she's not going to be able to keep you safe. And so she's going to have to give you up. Oh, I didn't realize that. And ever since then, he never went through that electric fence.
wow. Wow. I love that story. I really do. I think that, I think that people should reach out. to their pets and try to just learn about them the same way you would want to know about anybody else in your family, like their family. You have to know. But here's something that makes it a bit hard. A perfect example of how it doesn't always work. Like they have a black cat that we're feeding. She has a shelter out on our veranda, but only wants to eat here and shelters elsewhere. We can only pat her while putting food in her bowl. Otherwise, you can't approach her. So I could see that would be difficult to gauge. You just have the healthy respect. Like we have a possum outside. Every place I've lived, we've had a possum, and I've always cared for the possum, and we do care for the possum. The possum eats like a king. So, you know,
Well, you don't
um,
want to feed them too much, otherwise they won't eat all the ticks and the fleas that they're supposed to be eating.
Yeah, come springtime, it's gonna be a whole different thing. Wintertime, we like to make sure that that they do okay because a lot of animals just don't do well in the winter months. And this one even chirps. If when you go out and you give it a little chirp sound, it chirps back, so we know it's waiting, for its food. So let's just say over the Christmas holidays, the possum did really well. So, but okay, so here another question. While you're communicating with the animal, do you touch the animal or sit there and look into their eyes? So you can do it remotely, but what about someone trying to connect with their pet at home who may not have access to someone like you?
Well,
Or might want to give it a hand themselves.
I get my best connections if I use a picture and look in their eyes. So I would recommend looking at your pet's eyes and, you know, without making them feel uncomfortable. Because, sometimes you look at the pet's eyes, they're just like, oh, and start getting, oh,
Am I in trouble?
am I in trouble? Or,
Right,
sometimes it's considered an aggressive movement.
right,
So, but if I look at a picture and look at their eyes, it helps me to connect. Uh,
right,
but I don't necessarily need a picture anymore.
right.
Um, but I think if you even like touch the animal, you can connect. You don't have to be looking in their eyes. It just depends on how you relate to that animal and um, how you're able to connect, because everyone connects a little bit differently.
Right.
One thing you want to do is you want to be respectful. You want to ask them if they're willing to communicate. You don't want to be judgmental.
Right.
Um, you want to look at things from their perspective. Um, because like the dog chasing the car, the owners thought, oh, he's just being, a behavioral issue type of thing. But no, he thought it was a game. He thought it was playing.
Right. Right. So essentially, when you're connecting or looking at a photo, it's the same that a lot of mediums would do, even looking at photos of individuals or so on. I think people need to realize that because for I'll back up. I can't tell you how many times I have read, posts, and I'm not on social media a lot. Time doesn't allow that for me, but when I am,
Why?
yeah, it's my life. But I've seen comments here and there which basically have stated something along the lines of animals don't have souls.
That's
And
not
it,
true.
I know exactly, right?
They also,
Exactly,
I've also seen where they don't have emotions, and that is not true either.
right. No, I've seen animals cry,
Me too.
and I think until you see it, oh my goodness, you just look at in the eyes of an elephant, for example, with so much wisdom. There's
hmm
so much wisdom. Because they tend to, or they should, and unfortunately, in some parts of the world they don't, but they should live a really long time. And there's so much life experience in there. I can tell even when I would look at, and one of like one of my elderly dogs, for example, like through the years, the way they look at you, you could just see there's so much wisdom. And I wish I could understand what they were doing, when you're feeding them and they're just like, no, I don't want to eat that. I don't like it. Don't try to cram it down their throat. Like, okay, well, you just don't want this today. We'll try to do better next time, or, but it amazes me that there are people out there who really feel that way.
Yeah, me too.
They really do have souls and feelings. Animals have souls, they're emotional, they are sentient. Absolutely.
Most definitely.
Absolutely. So basically then, when you are like, do you have a lot of people who want to communicate with you in person? Like, is it easier for you to touch the animal? Like, basically, I know when in my line of work, we do use remote viewing, and people get funky about it. So essentially, you're looking at a photo, you're just tapping into that animal without a photo. Do you get a degree of resistance with that?
Generally not, because often when I'm in person,
Hmm.
also picking up on the person. And so sometimes it's difficult to separate out the person versus the animal.
Yeah, I could see that.
Whereas if I'm remote, I can focus in on the animal before the call and get some information and make sure my connection is solid with them before I bring the human into it.
Right. Right. Yeah, I could see that. You mentioned that you work the physical, the emotional, and the spiritual levels. So when I come to you, without getting into, obviously a whole whack of specifics, I'm already like trying to get this and this and this in place. but, but what would you do? So somebody comes to you with a pet and they're like, okay, here's some questions. Can you walk us through the process so, we all know what to expect?
Well, you'll have some questions to begin with.
Right.
So I'll connect in with the animal, and I always ask them if they want some healing, especially if we're talking about some behavioral issues. And like you
Right.
said, I work on the physical, emotional, and spiritual. These
Right.
sessions can take anywhere from 45 minutes to 2.5, 3 hours sometimes. It depends on what their higher self tells me they want.
Right.
And there's a protocol I go through primarily, and I get a lot of information from that. I can send a lot of healing. If the client hasn't booked a healing session, I'll do a quicker version of it during the call. But usually I like to do it remotely.
Right.
But I need to get the owner's permission to do the healing as well as the animals.
Okay.
So I just go through, I say, hey, I can't do this right now, but when I'm on the call with your mama, what do you want
Right.
me to do? And
Right.
so it can be things like grounding them, sending animal essences, sending crystal energy, doing some things for balancing the left and right hemispheres of the brain. I use the meridian system, which is one of the energy systems of the body, to release stuck emotions from the various meridians. On the spiritual
Okay.
level, I will work with the chakras, both the major and minor chakras.
Mhm.
I'll also check to see if they have viruses or parasites or bacteria. I'll also check into their lifestyle, their relationships.
Mhm.
So much that goes into one of these sessions.
Mhm.
I can't physically do it on the call. So
Right.
we'll do it. If they book a energy healing session, I will do it remotely.
Right.
And then we spend 30 minutes. I'll summarize what all I've done, what information came through, what recommendations came through. And I'm not a vet, but sometimes
Right.
some health related recommendations come through, and I will relay that to the person. And there's always some time left to ask some questions.
Oh, excellent. Excellent. So you basically, you go through everything
Yeah.
with the pet. I think that's lovely.
And that's the main toolbox I have. But I always ask them at the end, is there anything else you need? And sometimes they'll say yes, because sometimes there's a cord that needs to be cut, or, I've got a lot of different tools in my tool belt. I've even started adapting my shamanic practices to help
Mhm.
animals. I've been
Right.
working with my stepmom's service dog because he was diagnosed with bone cancer.
Oh,
And so I've been doing some shamanic healing on him.
right.
And I've already extended that they estimated he would only last for 2 months. He's
Mhm.
already lasted for 6 months, and
Wow.
I can relieve his pain. I've been working on building up his shoulder with collagen and removing the cancer cells.
Mm.
Um, and now his timeline is his highest yet. It's like 2.5 to 3 years.
Wow. That's
So
amazing. And and what does that require from you? Like, is this a daily healing you need to do, or is it weekly, monthly? Like, how much healing would you need to do on an animal that's pretty much diagnosed with a couple of months and ending up going years?
it just depends. Whenever my stepmom starts seeing that he's in pain,
Right.
uh, she'll ask me to reach out to him, and so I'll generally do a healing then. What I've been trying to do lately is do it weekly so that I can keep him pain free and off of his pain medicines, because she stopped having to give him his pain medicines.
Right.
Um, and just, you know, his quality of life is so
Right.
much better. Uh,
Right. Right. I think that's beautiful. And energy work, people it's underrated. It should be. It really should be more recognized because you can do so much healing with frequency, vibration, energy work.
and with
Uh,
diet,
right,
diet's huge for animals and
right,
people.
right. I agree. I agree with you on that. Faye said that is lovely. I would be suggesting to my sister to contact you about Hildy. Well, I think that might just be your answer, Faye, and you might start getting nice, peaceful visits with your sister.
Absolutely.
Ruth says, I'm with the cats and dogs all day, every day, so I talk to them a lot. She goes, I swear they understand me. The dog does for sure, but the cat's body language and vocalizations are clearly responding.
Yeah.
So,
They understand more than we give them credit for.
right.
And,
Uh-oh.
with that, sometimes they choose to ignore you.
Especially cats.
But yeah, I mean, they understand a lot more. Sometimes it's just kind of gobbledygook to them, but
Right.
um, but
Right.
yeah, if
But
they're paying attention, they understand more than we give them credit for.
so basically, when you hear people say they understand the tone, or it has to be one or two syllables. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think it's all tone, or do you think that they actually do understand what you are saying?
It depends, because
Okay.
sometimes they don't understand, um, like medical terminology. Sometimes they don't understand what a chiropractor is versus an acupuncturist. And so
Right.
I send them a picture of, is when you had this treatment, did this help? And I showed the needles,
Right.
or, I showed them, doing a chiropractic treatment and said, which one have felt better? And, oh, the one with the needles.
Right.
So sometimes you have to explain to them, because sometimes some of our words don't make sense to them,
Mhm.
uh,
Right.
especially if you're talking strictly to the animal. A lot of times I'll talk to them on their higher self, and their higher
Right.
self knows more than, um, the animal itself does.
Right. Right. I'm just going to post your website here in the chat room so everybody go crazy, guys. There we go. So, um, yeah, I think there are times when, you know, the whole attitude part is interesting. For a while, I used to wonder, like, does she actually understand? Like, I'm saying her name 15 times, Muffin, 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 and Muffin's like this. Will not even acknowledge me. Muffin, Muffin. Then she goes, and she's a Chihuahua. She's 13 years old, and it's just like not doing it. And I get a little half glance over. It's like, wow, I feed you. I love you. I give you so much love and affection.
Chihuahuas have attitudes.
Oh, yes. Yes. I've had many. I've
And
had
so
many
do cats.
chihuahuas.
Cats generally have attitudes too.
Yes. Yes. Cats are notorious for it. I've had Bengals, and Bengals are honestly, my first Bengal was just a dream, but he died of some crazy Bengal thing after just 2 years old, very unexpectedly, just like that.
Oh,
And
so
yeah,
sorry.
it happens. My sister actually knew somebody who had a Bengal, and the same thing happened like within weeks, and he just passed away. And apparently, this can happen with Bengals. There's no rhyme or reason. They just, that's it. He had a seizure or something. First time done. That was that.
Mm.
And the other one, there's just something that's not right with him, and he's now living with my son and daughter-in-law, and his little litter mates used to pluck off all of his whiskers. That might have had something to do with his anxiety.
Yeah, that might.
Yes, so he's never been right since, and he's a few years old now, but it goes just to show, like I knew this because the prior owner whose cat had this little guy said this is what happened, and he's a very strange little cat. He's the was the runt of the litter, and so we had an idea. But sometimes when you have, like, I'm thinking you're short circuited, there's just something not right with you at all. But how many times does that happen and people just have no idea? They're buying from pet stores, or they're finding them as strays.
And they don't know the history
Exactly.
because sometimes with some of the puppy mills, they're interbreeding.
Yeah.
And, that's not conducive to a healthy family line or a healthy pet.
No, not at all. Not at all. And some of them will portray themselves as, reputable um, breeders,
Yeah.
and then you end up with a very sickly animal.
And there are a lot of great breeders out there, but then
Yeah.
again, there's a lot that
Yeah,
aren't.
absolutely. Absolutely. Um, But I've just learned that for me, more rewarding are rescues and second chances.
Yes.
And I've always had big dogs. Like I said, I've had Dobermans, I've had Shepherds, I've had a lot of Huskies, because Huskies take a certain type of person to
Yes.
be able to raise them, shall we say. And I had rescue Huskies.
And they're very vocal.
Oh, they're very vocal and they're very silly. And we had one that taught our other well-behaved husky how to jailbreak, and they like to run, right? So they had a huge run, and it was probably about 800 square feet. And then there was like a couple acres to run besides that. So one day they were gone all night. One time that they escaped, and the next morning they decided to show up, and it was pouring rain. The other one came back early. He's like, nope, just let me back in. I'm like, all right, I let you back in. The other one just sat there in the pouring rain, sitting there staring at the house. And I'm looking at him through the window. I'm going, you're so naughty. So I go out and I looked at him and I pointed to, his main area. And I went like this. And he went down on his tummy. I never had to say a word. I never had to. It must have been my vibes. It's like, you're partying all night. Now you want to be dry and be fed, I suppose, you know. But it's like that telepathic thing.
Telepathic, plus animals use a lot of more physical commands versus voice commands.
Right.
That's how a lot of trainers train them,
Right.
to connect the voice command with a hand signal or something like that.
Oh, see, well, that brings me to this comment. My sister's other cat, a British short hair, was 5 years old when she got her. The sister swore the cat didn't understand her because she only understood Russian, the language of the cat's former owner. The cat now understands my sister, which is very sweet with her. So, what do we do when you have an animal? Because this happened with one of my little chihuahuas, came from a Chinese or family, and I'm talking to this dog who's 14 months old is looking at me like I have two heads. Like, what? What do you do in that case?
You basically have to retrain them. You have to show hand signals, like slapping your knee for come, um, using like this for stop,
Right.
things like that, to try and help them to learn the new language.
Right. And have you been able to intervene that way by communicating with them? Is there anything that can speed up that process, so to speak?
I've never had the opportunity to work on a case like that.
Okay.
All of my clients have been English speaking and had dogs that were raised in English speaking environment.
Right. Okay. Well, you might, because I'm sure one of ours still, mind you, she's been with us probably now as much time as she was with her prior family, but it was a real struggle at that point. The retraining process was very, very hard. Um, Laura Lee, my cats are so sweet. They've never bitten or scratched, but they've been raised since birth with dogs. Mind you, my son's cat and how we initially met Julie told Drew that she loves us, but she wouldn't miss it if our dog Emmy wasn't there. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
That can be hard. That can be hard. We can speak more than one language. So can animals. Oh, I don't doubt that. I think we just all have to jive with the same language at the same time. So, but I do believe in the language of love and perseverance. So
And
eventually,
also, if you connect with their higher self generally knows more than one language.
right, right. I agree with that.
A lot of
Dolly,
it is telepathy and showing pictures and things like that.
right. Okay, so does that go back to, people will say dogs are colorblind? Think because if you're showing them pictures, I mean, I don't know, my animals watch television and they're fully into it. So, you know,
They have more limited color range than humans do,
right,
but they do see some colors.
right, right. Have you ever had parents who have had sessions with you and realized that, you know what, this isn't for me? Like, have they gone on to maybe find other homes? Not just because it's what the pet wants, but because, you know, like, I don't imagine a parent would do too well to hear, like, no, I don't like you. I don't like these habits of yours. I don't like what you feed me. I don't really like when you pat me or touch me. Like, have you ever had a parent say, this animal is just too difficult and I can't put the time in to make it work?
Um, the pet parent having trouble putting
Yeah,
in time.
yeah. Accepting the reading.
I've never run across that.
Oh, good. That's
Um,
good.
the birds I have talked with have been very animated, silly, fun. I had this one that had two birds in different cages, and she wanted to know whether she could put them in the same cage. And it was like, yes, but they want the larger cage. And she did, and they were fine. She was so worried that they would not get along or whatever, but they were fine. They wanted it. It's like about time.
Wow, that's funny. I've had parrots. I used to do parrot rescue, and I could rear little babies from eggs, and if I
Oh,
had to, and very rewarding. People don't realize how animated birds are, but they're also very cuddly, more cuddly, or like they're cuddlier, more cuddly. Am I saying that right? I'm being French right now. Sorry, but I was talking with my hands and get my point across. But I've had a bird who used to have to snuggle every single night. She'd fall asleep in my arms, and we would have our cuddle time.
yeah.
And they're just little angels.
Yeah, birds need a lot of attention.
Yes,
And I had a cockatiel and a cherry-headed conure at one point.
right.
Um,
Cockatiels are sweet. I've had them as well.
yeah,
They're so sweet. But I see that to me would be interesting to communicate with them because their longevity, with the bigger the bird, the bigger the lifespan.
right.
And we had a cockatoo that was rescued. They gave her up because, her parents had a baby, and she was a little too loud and sassy. And they thought she was a boy. And when we got her, because I knew how to tell, she was a girl by her eyes, and she just would do very strange things, and even in her bonding. But her behavior when it came to the PTSD, when you talk about PTSD,
Yeah.
she was really a traumatized bird. And I've rescued parrots out of breeding situations who have plucked themselves bald, being kept in tiny little cages, the nails wrapped around. It's complete abuse. And I've rescued these animals or these birds and rehabilitated them and donated them, to good families, because parrots are so expensive to buy. But she was just I found out that cockatoos are one of the most abused parrots on the market. So, I noticed that you do talk because you have blogs. I've been on your website. I've checked it out. Go check it out, people. And you do talk a lot about like you have a good article on the PTSD and how to deal with that. And it's not just for dogs and cats.
Yeah. Any animal can be abused and have
Yeah.
PTSD.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
sometimes they bring it from a previous life. It's not necessarily this life.
Yeah. No, exactly. And pets with children, that's where it gets really difficult. Have you had to say to people, that is this people don't always want to hear anything derogatory about their kids or their pets. But when you come into a situation where you just can't put them together because they haven't taught the child to be respectful towards a pet, for example, or wonder why the pet is lashing out at the child. Have you run into that and had any issues even with that?
Fortunately, no.
Oh, very lucky.
Um, but I would think that in a situation like that, the pet might want to be rehomed.
Right. Yeah. I I would agree. Our children were always taught to be very, very respectful of animals. I was taught that way. We've always had animals. I think it enriches your life, and it gives children a very healthy respect for how to treat animals.
Right.
Faye says, have you ever communicated with an animal you just couldn't like? Is there such a thing?
I don't know that I've gotten a animal that I didn't like.
Oh, okay.
I like all animals.
Yeah. Yeah, I like to think I'm an animal lover too, but you just get some, when you have a cat who just looks at you and decides, no, I'm just going to barf up this burr ball right here in front of you so you can step in it, or I'm just going to poop over here because I feel like it. Just a salty animal.
I think a snake might be one of those that I would keep my distance from, but I've never really spoken to a snake. That might be interesting.
Spoken to a cockroach, though.
Yeah.
How bad could it be? Snakes are said to be, a representation of knowledge. So maybe they would educate you on a lot of different things.
Well, they're also a symbol of transformation or healing because they shed their skin.
Right?
When I was getting, after my separation from my husband, I was in an apartment. One day I came home from running some errands or something, and
Right.
there's a huge, huge cottonmouth snake on my welcome mat.
Wow. Okay.
And I actually had talked to a snake. I've forgotten about this, but I was getting ready to move to South Carolina.
Right.
And that was a symbol for me that I was on the right path.
Right.
And that I should go for it. But it's like, I'm not going up into the snake.
Wow.
And kids were getting ready to get off of school, so I had to call the apartment office because it wasn't moving.
Wow. So the snake was just taking up residence. Could you not just say to him, hey, why are you here?
Well, I did, and it's like, it had a message for me. And I said, okay, well, I got the message. Can you go back to the lake?
Oh,
Because there
boy.
was a lake in our apartment complex, and
Right. Right.
it wasn't listening.
The snake just didn't care. Boy, oh boy. That would be difficult when you just have, that sort of a situation and they know you're scared of them, so they're just gonna, push their little scaly weight around.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. But I mean, this snake was taller than or longer than I was.
oh, yeah, crazy. That's crazy. I mean, not that you didn't fear it for the good reason. Snakes on average, not everybody, feels like snakes and spiders as pets, or you see one, I just automatically instinctively want to sidestep and keep going. We're going to do a really quick station and sponsor ID. So for those of you just tuning in, this is the Outer Realm, and we are sitting with Julie Bassett. We are talking about animal communication. We are talking about pet mediumship, shamanism, spirituality, how pet owners can connect with their pets to find out if not just what they're doing or what they want from you, but how you can be a better pet owner. At least that's how I see it. So we're broadcasting live on United Public Radio Network, UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 FM on the Gulf Coast, 107.7 FM in New Orleans, and of course, Roku TV. So for those of you guys who are in chat room, please note there are 7 different chat rooms, and we are watching you file in from a superhighway into one lane. So be patient. The guests can see the comments. Big thank you to Folgers Coffee for sponsoring our show this evening and every evening. We appreciate you so very much. Big thank you to Justin Snicker, aka Dr. Snick, the Sonic Surgeon, award-winning composer of Halloween, horror, sci-fi, electronic music, which can be found on all of your favorite musical streaming platforms. Also, big thank you to Steve McGinnis, the artist behind all of our banners and logos here at the show. Check him out on Instagram and Facebook. And by the way, he does do amazing pet artwork, so he can paint your pet. And while we're on the topic of pets, I thought that would be important to bring up. So anyway, we are back. Okay, we're gonna get into a little bit of, a little bit sadder. I mean, sadder for me. I lost, my little pet baby a couple of years ago, and she really was like my baby. In fact, I remember when I went back about 15 years ago, and I was introduced to a pet communicator and sent her a picture of my pets at the time. She goes, the little brown one thinks she's the center of the universe. And my response was, okay, yes, there was a problem with that. She was like my little, almost like she thought she was human. But, so what's the most, I mean, it's tragic when we lose our fur babies. It really is. So you're asked to communicate with them. What is that like for you? Like, do you find that really emotional? Because I know I would find that just really heart-wrenching to be doing that on a regular basis.
I think because I am a pet medium, it's not as traumatic for me because I know they're still with us.
Right.
And, because often when I'm talking to the client, I said, well, he's right there. He's right behind you, or he's down at your feet.
Right.
Because they are still with us. They are here, once they pass, a lot of times they are here as guides for us because there is a reason why every pet is with us. They're
Right.
here to teach us something. They're here to heal us. They're here to be a catalyst for us. There's just so many things that they are here to help us with.
Right.
And their purpose isn't necessarily always with us, but they are to be of service. Like all the service dogs, all the therapy dogs, they love it. They love having a job to do.
Right.
They love helping us heal. That's the primary reason I find that animals are in our lives is because they're here to help us heal. But they're also on their own path. They're also trying to learn and grow just as we are.
Right.
They're here to experience different experiences too. And a lot of times they intersect with our experiences.
Right. And how do they usually communicate? Because I know with humans, we leave certain signs, whether it's smells, whether it's, like a favorite perfume, favorite flowers, or, birds. My mother loved cardinals. After she passed, good grief, we're like, how many cardinals do we have on this property? Just lots of cardinals. So, how do pets communicate with us once they've passed on?
Often I've found they send butterflies. They'll sometimes
Interesting.
send yellow butterflies or blue butterflies, or one sent ladybugs. So anytime somebody saw a ladybug either outside or in a magazine or in a photo or on a bumper sticker, anywhere, that was a sign from them that, yes, I am there. I've had them send coins. Most of the time, those are humans, though, that are sending them.
Yes. Yeah.
But sometimes pets send them too. Sometimes they send feathers. It just depends.
Right. Right. No, I love that. Laura Lee said, I took a picture a few years ago of someone I was speaking with via Skype of their deceased cat sitting on the pillow next to them on the bed. It was very cool to see her cat there. And Wayne says, I have 27 pounds. My God, it's a big cat. I had a 27-pound tabby pass a few years back. And the night after his passing, I felt him hop up on the bed and walk towards me as he had done countless nights before.
Yes, absolutely. I had one of the dogs I tried to is a Great Pyrenees. I felt him come and sit down right next to me. And this was a dog from like Arizona or something that was lost in the desert.
Wow.
He ended up passing,
Mm,
fortunately.
yeah.
But he's now on my team. He came and sat down next to me. We had such a good connection.
Right.
And I could feel his fur. It was just really cool.
When you say your team, can you elaborate on that?
My spirit team and my healing team. I have a team of animals that helps me to heal other animals,
Mhm.
um, and helps me to communicate with them.
Yeah. I've heard that a lot with, people who even, just people's mediums who, who don't work with animals at all will sometimes have spirit animals, not just as guides, but who actually I guess they're still being the service dog, so to speak, even in the afterlife, which
Right.
is, really interesting. So, if you have like, do you ever have pets who are grounded, who just get stuck because they just don't want to leave their family?
I've had animals that have prolonged their passing because trying to give their guardians a chance to adjust and to, um, because they didn't want to see them sad or feel guilty.
Yeah.
Um, so I have seen that happen.
Mhm. It's difficult. I think, like anything, we can tie human spirits, to us through grieving, and it would be the same with animals because we're just so much more bonded. Like, I know with my little one, like, I revived her 6 times and, like, at least once a week for 6 weeks until her last time, and I just went, "Okay, yeah, mouth to mouth." She just stopped breathing. It's like, "There we go." You know? And I could still
Uh,
hear her barking every now and then.
yeah,
She had this little discount bark, and you could just hear it in the distance every once in a while.
yeah,
So, she again, my baby. So, but yes, you can, give mouth to mouth to a dog or an animal and right back, her little siblings would bark and let me know if she stopped breathing and it's crazy. My vet would be just like, "That's amazing." I don't know. It's a heart thing,
yeah.
she had a heart issue. So it's just like, well, so that was difficult, to say the least, but I know she's still around. It doesn't make it any easier though,
So,
because we still, and I know better. I know better, I'm having mediumship abilities and I know that, your loved ones are around or your fur babies are still around. And it still doesn't make it easier, even though we know better.
right. Because we miss their presence, their actual physical body,
Mhm.
their presence.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's why it's so hard for a lot of people is, you get so used to having them around and that even though they're in spirit, it just isn't the same.
It is not the same, no matter what. My mother used to laugh. She goes, "You probably miss that dog more than me." No. No. I don't. Um, Faye has a question. Do zoos ever ask for your help?
I've not been asked by a zoo yet.
Oh, okay. All right. My service dog Tippy is still with me. I see her out of body experiences. Or is that when you're having an OBE or when she would OBE? Interesting. So, um, what is the most, have you ever had to help with missing animals?
Mhm.
What has been that
Those are
like?
very hard to do,
Okay.
because I get a lot of the ones that end up being passed, um, and that is very difficult. But there are, and animals travel, and so trying to track where they are is often very difficult. I
Right,
do not really care for doing lost animal cases, but I will.
right,
But they're always on the move, so I cannot guarantee results. And the pet parent has to be actively involved.
right,
Um, but there are different reasons why pets leave, and there are different reasons why pets don't come back.
right,
Um,
right. What about those who just get lost? For example, I don't know, example, you're camping, you bring your pet, or you're visiting somewhere, you're at a rest stop for a half an hour and animal just goes wandering, like animals wander. Have you ever been able to reunite families with lost animals?
I have on some occasions.
Hmm.
Um, there was one where a horse got missing
Wow,
and they
horse.
were looking in the wrong place.
Wow.
So I told them, no, it's over here because I do map dowsing, so I can try and track it with a map and a pendulum.
I love that.
Um, and just asking questions. Did you cross this street? Did you go this way? Did you go north, south, whatever? And,
Right.
and I said, no, it's on the other side. And so they went and looked on the other side, and there's the horse.
Wow, crazy. I was going to say it's not easy to lose a horse. I think that's a pretty big animal. Wow.
But I've had dogs return. I've had some cats return. Um,
Is it just from reasoning with the animal? Like, when you're tapping and looking at a photo and the animal's just off on a, like my huskies used to do, because huskies are known runners. They will run for bloody days and miles. So were you able to just tap into the animal and say, okay, you do need to go home now. Your parents are worried. Have you had like a success story like that? Or is the animal just like, I don't care. I'm out having fun?
I've had both.
Okay.
Um, cats are notorious for going on little adventures.
Yes.
Um, generally, though, if you have a cat that's strictly indoors and it gets out,
Right.
it's going to stay close to home. It's going to try and find some place to hide where it feels safe.
Right.
I've had them underneath the house before,
Right.
underneath the like a deck.
Right. Right.
Dogs are more of wanderers
Right.
or
Yeah.
cats that have been used to being outside.
Right.
Um,
So in communicating in the past, in your communication with animals, do they tell you what their parents should do to look for them? So like if we lose our pets, how, based on your experience, what should we be doing to try to get our pets to come back? Or is there anything we can do at all?
generally, animals can smell a lot better than we can.
Right.
And so if you put like a dirty piece of clothing from their favorite person, it will help
Okay.
them find their way back home.
Right.
Or a dirty litter box,
Right.
cat will
Right.
help bring them back home.
Right.
Often I've put a big like searchlight above their house saying, go towards the light.
Wow.
I've often asked them if I could see through their eyes and looking around and see what they're seeing.
Hmm.
I was doing that with somebody a little bit earlier today where
Right.
her cat's been missing since mid-December.
Oh, goodness. That's
And
hard.
when I looked through its eyes, I saw like darkness around me. And I did the map dowsing, and it's like she's right there, or he's right there. He's under the house. And they're looking around trying to figure out how this cat got in there.
Right.
And they haven't found the opening yet. But
So is the cat lost? Like it just can't find its way out, or is it just playing
it's
hard to
scary
get?
because it hasn't ever been outside before. And
Okay.
so cats are very set in their ways,
Right.
do not like change. And
Right.
so this cat got out, and it's like, oh shit. Sorry.
That's okay. It's fine. It's not one of the worst words that have ever been said.
But it's
Right.
like, what am I doing out here? It's like, I'm scared. I'm going to go hide.
Oh. Oh.
And so it found a way underneath the house. There must have been a little hole. I've got the area because there's like a deck in the back, And then it looks like from looking at the deck, it's to the left and a ways in. And I
Right.
saw like he showed me white, and he showed me like a paint can that was kind of knocked over, and he also showed me like a pillar, like a wooden pillar and a low ceiling, and also like he was in a corner somewhere.
Wow.
I've had an animal show me a rooster before, and it was a um, not a real rooster, but a decoration that was posted on somebody's wall outside.
Oh, so to show you basically where to find them.
Mm-hmm.
How interesting.
I had
A
some
landmark.
puppies stolen one time, and I tracked them through the different roads to this one house, and they went there, um, which I don't advise doing because these people were not the best people,
Right.
and they could have gotten in a lot of trouble.
Wow.
But since they came, all of a sudden at the end of the road, there were the puppies.
Oh,
So they knew that they had been caught, and so they went and put the puppies where they would be found.
wow. They were fortunate. They were fortunate, the animals.
I had a cat that was locked in a neighbor's apartment one time,
Right.
and they were able to get the cat back.
Right. Right. It's sad. It's a whole other world out there. And you've really given us all a lot of food for thought. Myself, certainly. And I'm excited because I know I'm going to get to have you read my fur babies. And, my biggest thing again is, okay, are we doing everything right for you? Because they're, coming from other situations, and it's not always about, what we want to learn about them. It's about what, they want from us also. So we're slowly heading into towards the end of the show. So how can people find you? We have your website going. I put it up in the stream. Do you have anything going on? Is there anything you want to promote for yourself? Please feel free to do that.
Well, I probably will be doing another beginner animal communication course, probably
Ooh,
sometime in February, I would think, because I do it like every couple of months, every 3 months, 2 months, 3 months, somewhere like that. So
okay.
I'm starting to think about doing that. I have a Facebook business page which has all my shamanic stuff on it as well.
Beautiful.
I haven't updated my website yet with my shamanism, but my Facebook page is facebook.com/Jade Bassett, animal communicator.
Okay.
And I've got an Instagram too that has both, and it's at Julie Jeanne Bassett, and JeAnne.
Excellent. Well, all of your links are in the show description, so people can go in there and just click on them. And Laura Lee said it was awesome. I took the course with Julie, so oh yeah. So people will definitely be able to find you there. And thank you so much for coming on. I mean, you're the first show of 2024 for the Outer Realm, and I know Amelia, who's under the weather, wishes she could be here because her dog's got all kinds of things going on too. So you may hear from her also, but it definitely was enlightening. I love to know what it's like from the other end. I'm the pet parent, and I've worked with so many individuals that I've never really stopped to think about what it's like communicating with these amazing little beings that have spirits who are larger than life, and just enrich our lives so much.
Absolutely.
you know so well, chiming in, great show, fascinating topic, great guest, great show. Thank you guys. Keep chiming in. So thank you. And I will be in touch with all the links that you need. And of course, I am getting there, I promise.
Not a problem.
Oh no, it is for
Everything
us.
in divine timing.
You keep saying that, but if I don't get on it, my schedule is going to undivine my time and it's just going to go somewhere else completely where I don't need it to go. And we do want to know about our little ones. So they have a vet appointment for their annual checkups on Friday, and then we're going to be able to get into their little heads and see what's going on with them. The little darlings. So,
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it. This has been a lot of fun.
Thank you. I'm glad you had fun. I certainly did. Everybody certainly did. Still chiming in. Cool show. Thank you. Great chat. Love the subject. Night, night. Great show. And of course, our biased one. Amazing show. Thank you so much, Julie. And again, I will be in touch soon.
All right.
Thank you. Good night.
Okay.
And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Thank you. Well, everybody, we have come to the end of another great show. What a way to kick off 2024. Something near and dear, to my heart and many, which is, of course, our fur family. So thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all in chat room. You just make it that much more fun. Big thank you to Folgers Coffee. Big thank you to Justin Snicker and Steve McGinnis. We appreciate you so very much. If you guys like what you hear, if you like the show, please, wherever you're watching, subscribe, share, comment, just like us up. We appreciate you so much for that, and it helps us grow. Also, if you want to contact us, please do so at the outer realm contact@gmail.com, the outer realm contact@gmail.com, or just go to the Facebook page and click on email, and it brings you right to us. Unfortunately, it's so difficult to answer messages on social media. I personally get so much, and it's hard to keep track of all the group pages as well. So email really is the best way. So tomorrow night, we welcome back our returning guest, Ryan Peterson, who is a biblical researcher and writer with an emphasis in ancient Hebrew. Now, he's been on the show before talking about one of his books, and he really gets into theology, so he's really interesting. But he's going to be discussing his newest book called The Final Nephilim. So it goes back from Genesis to Revelations, providing study on end times, prophecy, rise of the prophesied, seed of the serpent, the Antichrist, all of this interesting stuff. So, we give you something lighthearted, and we're going to give you a little bit of gloom and doom. But hey, we do aim to please, and we are fascinated in what he's got to say. So again, Happy New Year. Thank you for tuning in, and we shall see you all tomorrow evening. Good night.